Hello and welcome back to Calathea. In the last episode, we built the southernmost district in Calathea and made an entire community down here of houses, commercial, offices, some oil industry and an airport. The airport has been extremely busy so far, with every single plane being completely full and sometimes multiple coming in at the same time. The airport has its own metro station underground, and there's a train station over the road outside, working as a shuttle taking it into the centre of Magnolia Square. The cargo harbour has also been super busy, with lots of imports coming into here, and the trucks will either be taking these to the industrial areas or to the cargo train station over the road, and this train station is mostly taking goods to the Unique Factories area over the highway. We now have a cargo harbour at the northernmost and southernmost points on the map, and a train network that runs the entire length. I've added a couple more houses since the last episode just to fill in some empty space and work a little bit on the housing demand. And I have some very exciting news in that regard. For some reason I thought the Megapolis population marker for this map was 80 or 90,000, but I was way off with my assumption, and it's actually only 65,000. The population is currently sitting at around 63,700, so we will actually hit the Megapolis population milestone in today's episode. I wasn't expecting to get to that until the very end of this series, mainly because I was thinking it was a lot more than it actually is. But with how much empty space we've still got on the map, I'm very surprised that we got there this quickly. That wasn't my main goal for this series though. I also want to get as much building done as possible as well. And like I've been mentioning recently, I have a few themed builds left, and today's build is going to break ground on the island in the north. We haven't done anything on this island up here yet, but I have at least 2 builds planned for this island, and one of them I am very excited to do. Today's build is going to be mainly working on the southern part of the island, and it's going to incorporate the shorelines of the 3 pieces of land around it. Now, I haven't worked with islands very much in Cities Skylines. The maps I chose to use in the past never really had that many islands on them, and if they did, they were always connected by a road. But today I'm going to see if I can do this build without building a road connection. This may not work, and I may have to put in a road at some point. There's going to be all of the facilities that they need on this island, with housing, commercial, education, services, garbage collection and more. This is actually the first time I'm ever using ferry routes. I've tried it out on one of the old saves of this build, but I didn't really let it play through with any gameplay, so it may all amount to nothing. But I'm definitely going to give it my best go. I'm also going to be putting in a ferry harbour on the other side of the island for international travel, and I'm going to be utilising the plazas and promenades pack with a pedestrian district. The highest demand at the moment is residential, closely followed by commercial, and those are the 2 things that are going to be the main focus of this build, so hopefully I can make a dent into those demands. The only thing I am a little bit concerned about with this build is getting goods over here. I could put in a cargo harbour, but I don't really want to ruin the vibe of this island, so I was considering putting in a train connection and running the tracks under the water, and I can feed the line off of the farming station if I need to. That should hopefully get around needing a road in that respect, but we will see how we get on. So I'm going to need to do the start of this on pause, because they'll start complaining straight away about not having the right facilities. So the first thing that I'm going to do is put the ferry ports in. I'm hoping that this will also help with travel from places like the capital to the Spanish high-rise district, because if we look on the roads, it would actually take a very long time to get from here to here on the roads. They'd have to go all the way up here, through this intersection, onto the highway, off of the highway again, and across a few intersections. Whereas with a ferry, they can just hop across the water. So putting in this method of transport could potentially have a lot of benefits. I'm going to put the ferry ports in and connect them up to the existing districts. I've come to realise that the ferry lines are the most finicky thing in the game that I've ever worked with. I could not get the lines to connect, but it looks like it's all working now. I've drawn the line even though I haven't started building on the island yet, just because people may use it to get from one district to another. So these ferries are just going to be moving about in the background. I had to put the one in the capital on a much lower level because it looks really silly when ferries pull into a stop and the stop is miles off of the sea level. So I've put a little quay around it, and eventually I will be putting a quay around the entire capital once I finish building, so this will just continue all the way around. So now that I've got the line in, I'm going to start working on the island. So today's build is going to be working south of this big ridge here. The international harbour is going to go over here, and then there's going to be some housing and some commercial down this way, and the pedestrian zone is going to be over here. I've decided that I am going to pull over a cargo train route to the island. So that will come in and go up to where the harbour is, because you tend to find industrial stuff around ferry harbours. So I feel like it won't look too out of place there. So the first thing I'm going to do is a little bit of a roadmap, and I'm going to get those essential services in like fire, police and garbage, and I'm going to pull the cargo connection across. So here's a rough roadmap for the island. This over here is going to be like the main boulevard. There's going to be a pedestrian zone over here with lots of commercial, housing down here with some more commercial on this side, and this is the harbour and bus hub. There's also a cargo station down here and a recycling centre. I'm going to be adding to the road network as I go, and I'm going to start with the town centre and the pedestrian zone. So we've just had our first couple of ferries come in, and quite a lot of people have come into this island already. I'm not sure where they're all going. They may be going straight over to the rest of the city. There isn't really much reason for them to stay here at the moment. I have a feeling they're just going to walk all the way down to the ferry harbour on the other side of the island. So I think I should put the bus routes in sooner rather than later, because the ferries are coming in thick and fast and there's so many people running about. So let me do that now. I've just put the bus route in. Obviously it's not going to start working straight away because the depot's only just been put in, but hopefully for the next few ferries worth of people that come in, there'll be a bus waiting for them and they won't all just have to walk down this very long road. Looks like it's putting out a lot of buses. It may be too many, but we'll see how the demand goes and adjust accordingly. Looks like most people are still walking, so I'll check back in a while and see what kind of difference the bus route has made. So I'm finished with the town centre now. I had quite a few issues while I was doing this, and I did very briefly break the entire map. And I'm trying to figure out whether it's the pathways, whether it's the keys, or whether it's the assets, or if it's just the amount of stuff I've got going on this map now. But it seems to be working since I changed up the keys, although it does keep freezing every few seconds, which is really annoying. But at least I'm actually able to run it now. So on this side of the boulevard, there's just a few commercial buildings with a police station and a fire station and some unique building offices just to fill some gaps. There's also a playground down here with a couple of car parks next to the ferry stop. On this side is the pedestrian zone. We've got lots and lots of shopping malls, assets with a few parks and unique buildings dotted in, like the Theatre of Wonders, the pedestrian street market and the sunken shopping mall. Down the side here is a few of these sidewalk restaurants from the hotels and retreats pack, and then across the waterfront is a few of the realistic functioning beach assets from the workshop. This is the area where I was having the problems. I originally had 3 of the sidewalk cafes along the front here and they were connected to a quay, but there was something about the combination of the quays, the pathways and the pedestrian roads just completely broke the game, and I really struggled to fix it. I think it's doing okay now though, and I've read a few of the forum posts on Steam and it seems to be the city key is the thing that was causing the problems. So I've gone round and removed a lot of the city keys or changed them into other things, like this around the edge of this part of the island is just the regular vanilla key. This district has been really busy so far. Every single ferry that comes over is completely full, and like I expected, people are using it to get from one district to another rather than using roads, which I'm very happy to see because that should hopefully help out with the traffic overall. still lots of people coming in on the international ferries, and I'd say about half of them are using the buses to get down here and half of them are walking. From what I've seen on the forums, the Sims tend to go out of their way to go through a pedestrian zone, which is a little bit counterintuitive to me because the pedestrian zone is not on their way of where they're trying to get to, but it's not really that much of an issue other than it being annoying to see. The cargo train station seems to be working quite well as well, getting goods over here. This island seems to be working without a road connection so far, which I'm very relieved about, so I really didn't want to have to put one in, but it seems as though they've got everything they need on this island. Now that I've finished with this part of the build, I'm going to move over here to do the residential side. Like I mentioned before, I'm going to be building as I go, but this is just a rough outline of the structure of this district. There's going to be a small amount of commercial and some smaller facilities here so they don't have to travel all the way into the other district, and there's going to be some parks and attractions for land value and entertainment. I'm going to be using the eco housing for the low density, and then I'm going to be plopping some high density medium sized buildings near the town centre. So I'm going to get stuck into it. Okay, so I'm finished with the residential part of this build. I actually really enjoyed building this part, which probably sounds really silly because it looks so similar to other builds that I've done in the past, but I got to use a lot of assets in here that I haven't used before and use a commercial style that I haven't really used that much so far. So down this end is the housing. It's all low density eco housing. There's a primary school in the middle with a few parks dotted around. These guys have a great view of the capital from here, so I like to think that this is a fairly well-to-do neighbourhood, but they aren't flashy with their money. Down here is a park that I've been meaning to use forever in Calathea, but I just haven't had the right place to use it yet. It's a 45-degree angle park with roads going down either side, so I was able to snap it onto this intersection and join it up to this one down here, and it's got some playground items in it and a pathway that goes around the edge, and it's really good at filling in odd shaped gaps. On the other side is a block of flats that kind of make the same shape. Down here is the high density residential along the edge of the district. These are all groups of assets that have a park in the middle and 4 high density buildings around the edge, and they all snap on together, so it looks like the pathways that run along the sides of the buildings actually join to the park, and people can walk between them as well. And these are a few low density residential buildings, but I thought out here they have one of the best views in the city, and I thought I'd stick some kind of nicer, more expensive houses back here tucked away from the main town. Then we have the commercial side of this district. I've used mainly assets from the campus DLC. I really love these commercial pieces, and I haven't really used them in any other places apart from a couple in the very first build that I did. They're very low buildings with minimal detailing. The detailing they do have is actually really nice. Obviously I was working with limited assets, so I tried to put them in configurations that at least look different each time. And there's some drive-throughs, some restaurants, some laundrettes, some bookstores, and there are a few custom assets and a couple from the shopping malls pack as well dotted in. Like this piece here is a custom one. There's a Starbucks here from the workshop. A small row of custom ones along the back of the high school complex, and a few over here as well. They fit in really well with the campus building style, so you wouldn't even really notice that they're custom ones. It is a lot of concrete in the town centre, but I actually kind of like that. And I like that there's lots of kind of ruined and cracked floor detailing around these assets, because it kind of gives off the houses around the edge of this district are really nice, and obviously they're near the pedestrian zone and everything's really prim and proper and posh, but in reality this town centre is a little bit neglected. I like to think that the people that live here don't really use this town centre very often, and they tend to go into the pedestrian zone or they go across to the capital, so this area here isn't really used so much by the people that live here, maybe only those on a lower income. I did a very small amount of detailing on the edge here. I put one of these ruined pier assets down here and some pathways and trees just to fill in this gap because it wasn't really right for housing. Then over here is the ocean thermal energy plant and a very small recycling centre. I've left this bit empty for growth in the future. They don't want any commercial right now and they're actually struggling for educated workers, but I may build some housing down here at some point if the demand keeps increasing. So I think I'm done with today's build. Obviously there is a lot of empty space still, but like I just mentioned, that is for growth in the future if I need to build more housing, so it probably won't end up looking exactly like this by the time I'm finished with Calathea. I will quickly mention that I had to move the pier from this piece of land to over here because this piece of land here is really raised, so I had to lower it quite a lot and the quays were just causing me so many issues. So I've moved it down here to where the land is a little bit lower. People can still get to it from the bus and monorail stops, and it's not that far away from a metro as well. And as you can see, it's really busy. There's people flocking to it constantly, and every single ferry is completely full as it goes round. Unfortunately, they only have a capacity of 80, and that's nowhere near enough, but I don't want to keep adding more boats on, otherwise it's just going to be a continuous stream of boats nose to tail all the way around this bay. So I may add another form of public transport in here at some point, but for now I'm going to leave the ferries as they are. Now that these ferry stops are in, it means I can finish off these districts. Let me know in the comments if you'd actually want to see this in an episode. It will be pretty much a lot of the same of what's already in those districts, so it may not be particularly interesting, but if you want to have this as one of the last episodes, then I'm more than happy to do that. As I've mentioned a few times before, this island is going to have some other builds on it. The centre section is the thing I'm most excited about because it's going to be a park, and it's going to be one of the park types that we haven't done yet. So I will leave you guessing what that might be until the episode comes around. The north part of the island is going to be tourism and hotels. I may also put another ferry stop up here that links to the district at the very north of the map, just so they're not having to travel all the way down here to get over and then all the way back up again when they can actually see it from their houses. The release date for Cities Skylines 2 is coming up so fast, and we've only got 3 more episodes until it comes out. I'm so proud of how much we've done so far in Calathea, and even though there is a lot of empty space, there is so much going on that it's making my computer lag, and we just upgraded all the parts to some of the best on the market. So I hope I can even get to the end of this series without it completely breaking. But whether we're actually able to get any further or not, we have hit the population milestone for Megapolis for this map. So we completed one of the things that I set out to do before the end of October. We hit the milestone during the build today and it's already gone a little bit above, so hopefully the demand should start to level out now and I'll be able to focus on other builds without having to worry about things removing themselves. I'm probably going to keep adding to this map even after the series is ended, because obviously there is a lot of empty space and I really want to have a map in Cities Skylines 1 that is completely filled and finished. It may take me quite a while, especially with the second game coming out and other responsibilities in my personal life, but I'll be dropping you some updates every now and then in the future. Let me know if you have any name suggestions for this island. Obviously it's a completely separate piece to the rest of Calathea, so I feel like it should have its own name. I'll be back on Sunday with another episode, but until then, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one.